you can do whatever techniques you want, or you can just let out your stutter too.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, so we're live right now. So for everyone that's here and will be coming, I'm Travis, and I stutter. I'm also a, a speech therapist, and my guest is Hasan, who, here, if you would tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name's Hasan. I also stutter, and I'm currently a college student at the University of Washington, just trying to go by life with a stutter.
Yeah, and so we met 2 years ago, just about, at an intensive stuttering workshop that I work at, and Hasan was there for his first time, and then he came back last year too. And yeah, so we will talk about your journey with stuttering for the next 1 hour ish. And yeah, so shall we start?
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good.
Cool. So, how old were you when you first started stuttering, and what were those earlier years like with a stutter?
Okay, so I think I started stuttering around the age of 7-ish, I wanna say. I'm not exactly sure. It started with just in school, like, I'd stutter around my friends, and I grew up in Baghdad, Iraq, which is, like, not a very educated place about stuttering and about stuff like that in general. Well, just, like, about, like, mental health in general, I mean, they just don't care. But, yeah, so I grew up there, and it was a little difficult at the start, like, it was just a very minor stutter, like, I would just do few repetitions here and there, and my family did notice, and they just, like, try to tell me techniques about, like, saying the words in my head before I spoke them, and just stuff like that that just didn't really help me. But then it went away actually for a few years. It completely, like, went away. I think I was about 8 or 9 years old, it went away, and then as soon as I moved to the US from there, it came back, and I think it's maybe just because of, like, having to learn a new language and the anxiety that comes with that and the stress. And so, like, back in 5th grade is when it started again, and, it just kinda, like, ramped up through there, through middle school and high school.
Fair enough. Uh, so, did you ever go to speech therapy? And if you did, how was your experience?
Yeah, I went to speech therapy, I think my junior year of high school. See, because I didn't really know that it was a stutter because I had a secondary, which would be like I'd like move my head down like this. And that I thought was something closely related to Tourette's. And so I was like, this is not a stutter because a stutter is just a repetition. But then I went to speech therapy. I think it was, yeah, it was my junior year of high school, and it didn't really help. And I think that's mainly because the speech therapy was centered around fluency, in the sense that you had to just be fluent. Like she tried to teach me to just be fluent, which is, of course, it's manageable if you're in a controlled situation and environment. But as soon as you leave that environment and enter the real world where you're talking to people, that all just goes out the window. And so, yeah, so I did that for a few years and it didn't work. And then in my senior year of high school, at the end of it, they recommended me SSMP, which was the stuttering program that I met Travis at. And yeah, from there I've been going.
Yeah, and one problem with a, 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 speech therapist that focuses their work on a stutterer becoming fluent is, well, we'll just stop talking as much because we only stutter if we talk. So we cannot stutter if we stop talking. So
Yeah, exactly.
that must have been pretty discouraging.
Yeah, it most certainly was. I mean, like you're just told to, like if you stutter, then you're doing it wrong, and it's like that's just not really my fault, man. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, and it discourages you from being your authentic self as well.
Yeah, yeah, no. I mean, like one quote that I really like is the more you try to blend in, the more you chip away at your authenticity. And that's
Mm.
kind of like what it was like is you try to blend in to how other people were, but then you just weren't being authentic because you're just trying to not be yourself.
Dude, well, and not even that, but you're trying to blend in to what other people are trying to blend into. So like we're all trying to be something that none of us are because we're too afraid to just be uh, uh, ourselves.
Exactly.
Hmm. All right. What was being in school like for you as a stutterer? Did it ever impact your school performance or friendships?
Yeah, like most certainly. It was a very rough time in my life. I'd say in middle school it wasn't really as bad. And then as I got to high school, it became a lot worse in the sense that, like, I think as you grow up, you start to realize that, oh, I should care about other people's opinions of me, and and that's kind of like the stage of hitting like puberty and just all that. And so like you start to really care about what other people think of you. And so I would just try to hide my stutter for as much, like for as as good as I can. Like I would try my best to hide it, and I pretty much did. Like I'm pretty good at hiding it if I want to, because I don't really have a very outward stutter. Like it's not like a vocal stutter. It's just a block. So like I'll just block on a word like that, and people hardly notice because you're not really like outwardly stuttering, so they don't correlate that with a stutter. And so I did that for all 4 years of high school, and barely anyone knew except for maybe like a few of my friends. But it was just the most stressful thing ever. Uh, and so yeah, it just it's hard to constantly just have to hide a part of yourself that is.
Oh, wait, you just got muted, I think. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Damn. Well, while he tries to figure that out, I'll I'll share my response
Okay,
to the.
good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Whatever you did, it worked. Okay. So what about for like presentations at school, or reading out loud, or answering questions?
Yeah, so I would try to avoid those to the best of my ability in school. Like in middle school actually, I like volunteered first to give a presentation because I was feeling extremely ambitious. And then I went up there and I was reading the paper and like choked so much on so many words, and I just kept I just kept on, like, moving my head, and the teacher was like, I'm glad you got over that little hiccup of yours." And then it just killed me. And so, like, ever since then, I was like, "Yeah, I just hated presentations as much."
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a terrible thing, and so, like, it's kinda funny, like, I would make video a video recording of a presentation and play it in front of the class sometimes, if it was possible, like, to do that, and no one really knew that I stuttered, but they all kinda thought that it was weird, and I was just like, "Yeah, guys, I just like, making videos," but yeah, like, I went to the very extremes to hide my stutter.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Damn. Okay. Um, how has your stutter changed over the years? And that's something that you touched on a little bit, but if you can elaborate more.
Yeah, so in the start, it was just a repetition of words, so, like, it would just be I just keep on repeating the same syllable over and over again, and that was for a few years, like from age 7 to 9, and then after that, it became a block. Like I would just block on a word and not be able to get the airflow out. Uh, and then from that, a secondary emerged, which would be like my way of coping with the block was to like move my head like this, and it kind of looked like Tourette's. But like, yeah, and so like that was that. And then afterwards, as I got to SSMP, of course, you like learn to kind of deal with that. And so I still do move my head sometimes. It's just not as aggressive, and it's less frequent. And so now I just try to like hold eye contact, and it's just a block for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and boy, because I I will sometimes have those blocks too. So So what is it that goes through your mind when you are stuttering?
Um, that's kind of hard to describe. It's like, well, so for the block itself, it feels like a physical tension. Like you feel something, I guess, like in your throat, in your chin area, and it kind of, at least for me, it draws me down because I'm just used to doing that. Like that. That's just, it's just the mechanism that my brain has adapted to use. But as for the feeling itself, it varies. If I'm feeling pretty shameful about it, then yeah, I'll feel terrible. It'll feel like it's just kind of embarrassment uh if you're ashamed about stuttering. But then like on some days I'm like, it is what it is. And more recently, I've been just kind of like going towards that route in the sense of like, yeah, you know what? It is what it is. So that there's no reason to be shamed about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What is one thing that bugs you about stuttering?
That most people think it's not as a big of a deal as it is. Like I think like of course in terms of other problems it is a minor problem in terms of like health complications, but in terms of like mental health, man, it really does eat at you a lot. Like yeah, like it separates you from people your age and you learn to view yourself differently. And so if you struggle at school or if you're just having struggles in life in general, if you have the stutter, then you kind of just tend to internalize it and you blame it on that because it's the only thing that differentiates you from people. And so, yeah, I would say that people are not as knowledgeable about it, but that's just life. That's just people. So,
Well, that's gonna change the more we talk about it, the more we openly stutter around others as well. When we keep trying to hide our stutter and blend in with everyone else, then people don't know that stuttering is a thing.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's exactly like what you're doing right now is you're spreading awareness, which I think is incredible. So, of
Thanks.
course.
Um, what is one positive aspect of stuttering?
You overthink a lot, which I guess is not no. Like I think I think you become more no, no, okay. I think you like use your words more carefully. So like you're more eloquently spoken. Like you can articulate better because you think about the words that you want to say so much. And so in terms of being concise and clear, yeah, that it's definitely well, a positive in that sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. Uh, what is one thing you wish more people knew about stuttering that you haven't mentioned already?
Wait, sorry?
What is one thing you wish more people knew about stuttering?
Hmm. I wish people knew that it's just a difference in our brains, but it doesn't really like make us different in the sense that like we're still the same as everybody else. We just have this minor speech to fluency, and that's it.
What are your top feared words and feared speaking situations as a stutterer?
Yeah, so feared words, say probably my name-ish. I mean, I've gotten a bit better at that recently, but in terms of situations, definitely like giving a presentation is still a little bit terrifying, and also like talking, like raising my hand in class and asking a question, is probably on the top of the list. Because if you're giving a presentation, at least like you have the room and people are all like looking at you, and you can clarify it a little bit better. But if you're just raising your hand in the middle of a classroom, yeah, it's a little more difficult because you don't have as much time.
Mm, mm. Uh, uh, are there certain people that that are more nerve wracking to stutter around for you?
Mm, yeah, I mean, just people who will kind of give you like the look, like if like you can kind of tell that some people just don't really understand, and so like they'll think, "What's wrong with this guy?" And
Mm,
like those people seem to be a little bit less understanding, so of course it kind of is a little bit harder to convey that to them. And also just groups of people in general. I mean, it's harder if you have multiple eyes on you.
mm, mhm.
Yeah.
What is the weirdest reaction you've gotten from a stranger when you started stuttering?
And there's a lot. There's,
Go for it.
um, let's see. Yeah, so like back in, I think I want to say it was high school freshman year, like my friend, well, like he wasn't really like my friend, at least like not for this, but like he so I stuttered in front of him for the first time, and then like he just like made fun of it and just said that it was kind of like Tourette's and stuff, and that just made me. I think it's kind of like what sparked the insecurity about it is like if someone else who you care about is looking at it that way, then of course it's a problem within you, and and then yeah, it just kind of transpires from there.
Mm. Well, what do you think it is about stuttering that that so many people are comfortable either laughing at or making fun of?
I think it kind of depends, right? Like some people they laugh to kind of ease the tension because if it's like a serious moment and you're making eye contact with someone and they begin to stutter, then you kind of don't know what to do if you don't have a stutter. And so like some people like will laugh because they think it's the way to ease the tension. But some people just genuinely don't understand, so they'll just laugh because like they've only seen it in movies, and it's always been like a comedic thing. Oh, like he stutters. And so yeah, I think it's mainly that.
Mm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, well, what do you think about how stuttering is portrayed in TV and movies compared to like what your experience with it is?
It definitely. I don't think it's portrayed as well in TV. I mean, I think as of recently, it's been better portrayed, but in general, I think over the past few decades, it's just seen as kind of a comedic thing in the sense that, like, if someone stutters, oh, like, it's funny, he just, like, stumbles over his words, it's not that big of a deal. But a lot of people don't really highlight the reality of it. I think the best movie that I could think of is The King's Speech, which I'm sure you've seen. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that is probably, at least, like, from what I've seen, the best portrayal of stuttering.
Yeah, because we get a a pretty deep dive into how severely he he feels when he stutters, the embarrassment and and frustration with it, and kind of like the lack of confidence that the public sees in a person when they can't verbalize their words as efficiently as most people can.
Yeah, yeah, it's just in the sense that it shows I mean, just like you said, the shame and anxiety behind it, and more so like the part of, oh, people are not going to accept me because I have this problem.
Mhm. Definitely. Um, well, how do you prefer people handle your stutter when you talk with them?
I prefer if people would just treat me like the same as everybody else, and in the sense that, like, you just, if you're talking to somebody else on the street, and they just, and they just have a lisp or something, like, you wouldn't treat them differently because they have a lisp. Like, that's just not something that they can control. And in the same way, a stutter is the same as a lisp, in the sense that it's just a minor speech fluency, and you shouldn't look past it and make a person feel different.
Mhm. What's your preference as far as guessing your words for you, or eye contact?
Yeah, I think in terms of guessing my words, I it depends, it depends. I don't, like, mind it as much because I know people are just trying to help. Like, I know the intentions are pure, and it's not in the sense of, like, "Oh, I'm just trying to cut this guy off." But yeah, it can definitely sometimes get a little bit annoying, especially if you're just trying to, like, ask a question or something and they immediately answer. And but in terms of other elements, like eye contact, I think, yeah, just maintain eye contact to the best ability. Like, just, because it'd make me feel a little bit, like, less anxious about it if people didn't, like, look down as if they were ashamed. It's like, dude, it is what it is, you know? So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I've heard from lot of people that they look away because they assume that that by keeping eye contact, it would make me feel more uncomfortable and therefore more anxious and therefore stutter more. But like you said, the intention is good, but that's just not how it is, because when when we're talking and then you look away from me, it feels really dismissive and almost like you don't care what I have to say.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly as you said. Like if you're looking away, it shows that you're not listening attentively. I mean, it's just a basic social cue, right? If someone is not looking in your direction, of course, they're not as actively engaged in the conversation, and you wouldn't want to portray that even if your intentions are pure.
For sure. Um, uh, how has stuttering impacted your career choices, or your interactions at work?
Mhm. In terms of career choices, it hasn't really impacted too much because I like to think that I can do pretty much everything that anybody else can. And of course, it's taken a bit to get to that mindset in the sense that of like, yeah, I'm not really too different to other people. But in terms of sorry, like what was the other part of that question?
Just and interactions at work that you
Mm,
may have had.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I mean, you try to not like let it get to you, but interactions at work include, I mean, of course, people kind of just dismissive of the stutter, or they just look away, or they don't give you as much respect as you'd like.
Uh, um, how has stuttering impacted your everyday life and mental health over the years?
Oh man, that's oof. Yeah, it definitely takes a toll on your mental health. I mean, just kind of as of recently for me as well, like over this past year, it I think I've said this before, but in the sense that like if you have problems going on in life, if you have a lot of things that are stressing you out and you don't really know how to deal with them, then you kind of just tend to internalize your problems. And when you internalize them, you start to look at what's holding you back, at least like what you think is holding you back, and what differentiates you from other people. And so, of course, for me, that is a stutter. And so, yeah, like you tend to kind of blame a lot of things on that, which is not a very healthy, I mean, it's not a healthy mindset like at all. But it's something that I'm working on and trying to slowly v- overcome.
Uh, 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 how do you handle the tougher times when you're feeling down on yourself for stuttering a lot, or if someone makes fun of you for stuttering?
Well, in terms of someone making fun of me, I don't. I try to not blame it on people because I know people don't really understand. And so I think if you like go on life trying, well, if you care about everyone else's opinion of you, then you're not gonna get anywhere in the sense that like, yeah, like people are like they've not had the same experiences that you've have and have learned the same things as you. And so like you can't take their opinion at full, just like at face value. But in terms of dealing with the mental issues, Well, that is a lifelong journey. I mean, you can't like there isn't really a straightforward answer to that, but I would say like some things that help uh just definitely distracting because if you're constantly like not doing anything, then all you're doing is thinking, and if you think too much, if you overthink, then it's a problem. And so like just like going to the gym, doing things like that. Yeah.
Mm. Could you you share a little bit about, because you were telling me before that you were trying out for a boxing club, um, and there were a lot of people there, and you didn't tell them that you stuttered, and that was causing you some anxiety. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm currently in college, and we have a boxing team here, and so like I went to the tryouts, and like basically in tryouts, it's kind of like army boot camp. It's like a 3-week program, and so like part of the tryouts is they'll make us like line up in alphabetical order, and they'll make us like say our names to make sure that we got it right in alphabetical order. If we didn't get it right, like 100 more push-ups, right? Um, but so like my name's Hasan, and so it's like near the beginning, so I'd pretty much always say my name, and it's always very stressful because no one there like knew that I stuttered. And it's not like my stutter is like an outward stutter, right? So I'll just block on my name. And so like it would get to me and I'd pause for like like a few seconds and people would just turn and look, it's like, is he okay? And then I'd say it and people like didn't really notice, but it causes you a lot of stress because you're like, dude, I just I don't want to like pause and get push-ups right now. So yeah, it definitely is a stressful situation.
Mm. And how could telling people initially that you stutter kind of change how that feels?
Yeah, so if people know that you stutter, then it gets rid of the expectation uh, of of fluency. So like if the line gets to you and it's your time to say your name, then of course people are a little bit more patient because they know that you have well a speech to fluency. And so yeah, it does help.
Hmm. Well, and what I found for myself is that it removes a lot of pressure on myself to get my words out quickly too. So not only that the people know what's going on, but it just makes me feel more comfortable too.
Do you always tell people that you stutter? Or is it just kind of like if the situation is like a long form conversation?
Yeah, so it's a little different for me than it would be for you, because I I stutter more frequently. So it's much more noticeable that something is going on. Um, if I feel like I was stuttering a lot, and I could tell, but by the person's face or reaction that they recognize that my speech is different, then I I won't tell them that I stutter. But if it seems like they're confused still, or if I know that I'll be seeing this the person a lot more in the future, then I'm more inclined to say that I stutter, just to remove all doubt, because sometimes they may think, oh, well, this is different. I recognize that something's going on, but don't know what it actually is. Mhm. Yeah, and this is something that we've talked about before too, but there's also so pseudo-stuttering, which is like fake stuttering or stuttering on purpose, which which is a great way to show people, hey, this will happen at some point. Um, especially if you're not someone that stutters a lot, you can pseudo stutter, and make it known that, like, hey, this may happen sometimes, and then you can drop it, and and just stutter when you like properly do, and they'll at least recognize, oh, I've seen that before. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah, that is certainly a technique that I need to utilize more. Because it's it's just yeah, I mean, like, I think if you just don't stutter as frequently, then you just kinda have this mindset of, like, "I can just get away with it," and, it doesn't really work as well. But yeah.
Dude, yeah, I I I I will work with some clients that stutter like maybe once every 15 minutes, and and they talk about how much it weighs on them, emotionally and mentally, because they never know when they're going to stutter, and and it's so seldom that when it happens, their people are just so confused, because they're like, okay, well, you never do this. So what's going on? Are you making fun of people now? Um, so yeah, if you pseudo stutter, where you stutter on purpose, that could be a useful tool for sure.
Yeah, I think particularly what you said there about how it seldom happens, and so, like, when it happens, it weighs on you so much more. That could not be more true. It like it comes in like a huge wave, and you're like, like shit. I just lost my fluency, and people are all confused about you, and you're like, okay, guys, I have a stutter, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, or we could just be upfront about it right away, and it shows, in my opinion, way more confidence. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, what is your advice to younger stutterers who are
Hmm. I would say definitely go. Hmm. Well, like, I don't wanna say speech therapy. I mean, yes, it does help a lot, but it also depends on the type of therapist that you get, because that could also screw you over. I I will say that you just need to talk. Like, I'll say this, it's as important as just talking, in the sense that, like, if you try to hide away from all the words, okay, it's talking without avoiding, which of course is a lot easier said than done. But if you cannot avoid the stutter, it will help you a lot more, because then you're just going to be a lot more authentic about it. And it's not, I wouldn't say to care as much about what people think of it, because they don't know exactly what it's like.
Hmm. So to try not to avoid talking, and sometimes you'll stutter, sometimes you won't, but just talk regardless.
Yeah, and like, also to add on to that, uh just talking in general will lead to acceptance in some situations, right? So, like, of course, if you're constantly avoiding, it's not really going to happen if you feel that shame about it. But if you talk as much as you can, that leads to repeated speaking situations, which leads to comfortability, which then leads to desensitization, and then acceptance, right? But I mean, yeah, it's a long process, but I will say that, like, the more you try to blend in, the more you chip away at your authenticity.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. I last question, and then there are some questions in the chat that we'll respond to. So if anyone else in the chat has questions, then then feel free to write them out for us. Hasan, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your current level of acceptance with stuttering, and how has this changed over the years?
So, like, 10 being acceptable.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, like, I'd say now I'm at a 7.5 or an 8. And I'm slowly trying to work up to that 10, but I think being at that 10 means you truly don't care in the sense of what people think, which is very, very difficult to do. But yeah, I mean, it's just true. It's like we're humans, man. But so yeah, like, when I first started, like, say about age 7-ish, I didn't really understand it, and I was a kid, so it was, like, more so like a 7, you know? And then as you grow up, as you slowly start getting into your teens, at least for me, it became like a 3 or like a 2, because it's, yeah, it's what it's what is different about you, and no one else around you has that problem. And so I don't even understand like what stuttering was. I just thought it was like just something different with me. And so of course, like it's the only thing that you want is to be fluent. And so yeah, like it was like a two. And right before I came to the program where I met you, it was like a probably like a one. Like I hated it so much. It was like the worst thing ever because it caused me so much problems. But you know, like as you grow up, as you start to realize that it's just something that is different about you, but that's totally okay. It's not something that you chose. You start to kind of accept it more and learn to live with it.
Mm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's go to the chat for some of their questions that they've asked. So, what is the cause of stuttering? So we don't truly know what causes it, but there are multiple factors that are at play. So the big ones are genetic and neurological. So there are three genes that have been identified to be associated with stuttering. Roughly 60% or so of stutterers will also have someone else in their family that stutters, whether that's a parent or grandparent, or aunt or uncle. And then stutterers tend to have slightly different brain structure and function, which cause us to process language a bit differently. And we just kind of stutter because of it. So that's the research side of it, at least. What are some challenges that come with learning foreign languages? You're bilingual, so go for it.
Yeah, so I grew up speaking Arabic, and it wasn't until about age 9 that I moved to the US and I had to learn English in school. And what's difficult about it is you have to think more before you talk. And if you're already kind of overwhelmed with the notion of oh, I'm going to stutter on this word, then you're just thinking about like how to say it, and you're thinking of how to not stutter on it. And so it adds just a new layer of complexity, which is pretty difficult to overcome. But I found that actually quite interesting. Like after I became fluent in English, I kind of like lost a little bit of fluency in Arabic. And so like now Arabic is the one that's more difficult for me. But yeah.
Yeah. So your primary language is one that you'll stutter more in now.
Like Arabic is the one that I stutter more on now?
Mhm, mhm.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It it's pretty split amongst stutterers, where some of them will get stuck more in their primary language, and then some will stutter more in their secondary languages. So for me, like I already stutter a lot in English, which is my primary language. But when I was speaking Spanish, I stuttered way more. So,
Yeah, yeah.
all right. That looks like it for the questions from the chat. So Hasan, thank you for joining and sharing your experience as a, a stutterer.
Of course, thank you for having me. This was pretty cool. I definitely do r recommend that you, invite invite some more people on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you spread the word too, and and I'll talk to as many stutterers as I can.
Sounds good. Cool.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone and the chat for joining, and to my moderator, squared. You're great. So thank you, and I will be back on Tuesday with a another stutterer for another interview. So hopefully see you all then. All right. Take
Goodbye.
care.